everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of the Squared Triangle. A little later as of recording than we'd like, but stuff happens.
Been kind of a scuffed week, so.
It's like I keep saying, we all have full-time jobs.
And sometimes we just forget to unmute something. So.
Yeah, sometimes we forget to unmute something.
This is
sometimes
take two.
just occur.
Yeah, this is take 2 of this recording.
I was going to let you keep your dignity and everything. You wanted to say it, so...
No, I wanted to say like that because also after talking about this one, this was a nothing pay-per-view. So there was really not a lot to talk about. So this is going to be kind of a mix between Money in the Bank and the following week of wrestling up until by the time that this goes up last night, Friday night, SmackDown. We are recording
so we'll probably speculate
Friday.
a little bit on SmackDown. Yeah. SmackDown starts for us in like 3 hours.
Yeah. So I think to sum up this based on our previous conversation, out of this whole pay-per-view, I think there were 3 matches that we were really into most of this night.
Yep. It was the opener, the other Money in the Bank match, and then the main event.
It was the 2 ladder matches and then the main event, but everything else felt like a TV match, which I
personally enjoyed the historical context between Gunther and Matt Riddle, but I will acknowledge that it was a very short match.
Like a lot of these matches did feel like just TV matches because we brought it up. They don't give enough time for storylines to breathe between all these premium live events, and it just seems like we're at the halfway point of a lot of feuds. Or it's like, here's what we're doing until we get to the next step of the feud, and it's not really helping a lot of people.
Yeah, it's really not. Like, they should rebrand. Like, if they're going to continue to do premium live events, they should rebrand which ones of them are like the major ones, which we know are the big 4.
Yeah.
And maybe Money in the Bank. Maybe Money in the Bank is supposed to be sprinkled in there as well, or like Backlash, or whatever the case may be. Like the lazy writing pay-per-view, and then the one after WrestleMania. Got it. There's 6 right there.
Yeah,
and the rest of them should be like not like discounted and not even because they're not as good for not good at storyline, not as good in match quality. Like you're not getting your money's worth. I'm gonna say it there.
Yeah, and I think with all of us, we kind of agree. The big 4 are WrestleMania, Survivor Series, SummerSlam, and the Royal Rumble. Yep. Those are your big like storyline finishing moments. And then you have Money in the Bank, which is their get out of bad writing free card. And then you can have Backlash as kind of your post WrestleMania like feud ender if something happens at WrestleMania.
For sure.
But I mean, I'm gonna pull up a list here. WWE PLE 2023. I want to see exactly.
Y'all got him to say premium live event.
I'm gonna keep calling them pay-per-view.
I still call them pay-per-views.
I got him to say premium live event.
Like Elimination Chamber, I feel like that's kind of a match type and not a pay-per-view. Like for sure. I feel like Elimination Chamber should be like the end of like a big multi-man feud going on.
Well, in Elimination Chamber's defense, that's kind of determining the other match that will main event WrestleMania now. So I guess it has some use as, you don't win the Royal Rumble, you can enter the Elimination Chamber and also try to secure yourself a spot against the world champion at WrestleMania.
How they've been using that lately. Yeah. It's the other get out of bad writing free card.
But
another get out of bad writing free card.
We don't need Payback almost exactly a month after SummerSlam, and then we don't need Fastlane a month after Payback. Like it's
again, if they weren't charging $50 for each of these shows, I wouldn't be as upset. But they are.
Yeah, it's just
it's a good thing they moved to Peacock as a subscription service instead of like charging a arm and a leg for charging the price of a PlayStation game for pay-per-view. That's not it.
So and on top of that, it's a Fastlane and Payback. You can just do half of that stuff on Raw anyway, or SmackDown
for sure.
Like it's not needed, I don't think.
So looking at the list here, it looks like they did cut down a lot, but at the same time, it still feels like too many because we don't need Payback, we don't need Fastlane, and in a perfect world, we would never have Crown Jewel. Like those are
No, we can't do anything about that one.
we can't.
That's just gonna happen.
That's the Saudis give me money pay per view.
The WWE likes the
PLE.
blood money from the Middle East. So
Yeah.
Let's just give me money, so we can get by for the next several months of television.
And we don't need Elimination Chamber as its own pay-per-view. Like that can easily be like a big stipulation match or something.
I think what you'll find is if they don't do Elimination Chamber as its own pay-per-view, is that you'll keep having them. What they'll keep doing is having that Elimination Chamber match before anyway. So it's just going to be the same thing it's going to be in name anyway.
I mean, they could do some kind of tournament in its place, where they can, determine who's going to be, against the other world champion at WrestleMania.
But
I think that would work a lot better, but they aren't going to do that.
Because they're not going to break from tradition. If it's like, hey, we have a whole thing dedicated to Elimination Chamber, so we're going to have a pay-per-view for Elimination Chamber and not use it as like a rarity because they're going to be like, oh, people want to see it. And it's like, no, I would love to see it like once, like two or 3 years at the end of like a big feud or something. I don't need it every year as its own pay-per-view that has its own tiny build-up.
Now, in saying that, we've gotten a yearly Blood and Guts match at this point.
Well, yeah, but also they only have 4 pay-per-views, and they have the time to let that feud breathe enough to build up to it.
But it is feeling a big blow off.
Yes.
Because
it's the big blow up, kind of like War Games was.
Because that's the thing. It's and they made Survivor Series War Games now, which is awesome because now we get that every year.
I do like that. So that's a good.
Yeah.
So that throws half the argument out the window because we're getting War Games too. But like, it's not like
true.
Elite and Blackpool Combat Club are having a feud, and then a premium live event goes up, and then for some reason one of them teams is feuding with FTR, and then it goes back to the Elite, BCC feud. That's how these pay-per-views for WWE feel. Like we got onto it, and we'll talk about it again. The Cody Dom match. Why in the smack dab of a Cody Brock feud is fucking Dominic Mysterio involved? Is because that Brock's not going to work this B tier pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So why even have the B tier pay-per-view? Like it's just one of those things. It just there's no time to breathe. It's money. There's like no time to breathe these feuds, and also you have a part-time guy like Brock, and it's just not going to be a great feud anyway.
It's just a lot of filler at this point, and it's just not working out. It's not.
All right, but let's get into the actual event itself. Once again,
this time with feeling.
With this time feeling, we really liked this men's ladder match.
It's good.
Between Butch, Shinsuke, Santos Escobar, Damian Priest, Ricochet, LA Knight, and Logan Paul.
Everyone got their moment of like, hey, this person might win this.
Yeah. And there was
2 varying crowd reactions.
And there was a big hype at the end as LA Knight's going up and the crowd's going wild. And then nope, Damian Priest gets involved. LA Knight goes down. Priest gets the Money in the Bank, which isn't a bad pick.
I think if you're gonna pick anyone out of that, if you don't pick LA Knight, I think picking Priest is a good pick.
Yeah,
I think that's the pick you pick if you're not picking LA Knight.
Yeah, but like they have to have heard that crowd reaction to LA Knight about to get that Money in the Bank. And I'm saying, like, if there's something you need to do something with LA Knight and you're not doing anything with Theory right now, just take that title off of him.
Yeah.
Just put it on to LA Knight, let him shine for a bit, and then
that match wasn't. They didn't even have a US title match.
They didn't even have a US title match. That's the thing. It's like, what the fuck is Theory doing? Like,
absolutely nothing right now because
how can we go from a Lashley like title reign where he's like showcased, like this US title has been showcased for pretty much the last year as like, oh look, our secondary titles mean something again, and then it's just like Austin Theory just hasn't been around.
Well, I gotta kind of explain that too, is because I think Austin Theory is kind of cooled off. Especially after WrestleMania with that when John Cena cut that promo on him.
Yeah,
talking
John Cena like ripped him to shreds.
He exposed the shit out of him.
He exposed the shit out of him, and I really feel like WWE was on to something with that, and they have not done anything with Theory since. So, out of all the champions right now, Austin Theory feels like the most like an afterthought.
Yeah,
and they just need to get him back on track, or just put the title off of him, put it on LA Knight, and just let him run with it.
Yeah. I did see a funny picture today. Somebody was like, wait a minute. And it's a picture of Ezekiel. And then it's like a picture of LA Knight right next to him. And I'm like, they could still pull the storyline off of him being Elias's brother. And I was like, I hate that picture. I hate looking at this, but I would
hate it
watch
so
that.
much.
I love the Ezekiel storyline, and I was still hoping it's
was
like,
so
what if
stupid.
he actually had a twin? And that was the big reveal at the end of this.
The big reveal was that he actually had a twin. He
It was actually-
he wasn't gaslighting people.
He wasn't gaslighting people. It's like, oh, they kept his twin brother the most secret thing ever in WWE. And I was just once, I was like, God, I wish wrestling could do like dumber shit like this.
I wish wrestling was real this one time.
I wish it was real this one time. Yeah, we talked about the spots in this match. Ricochet going through the ladder.
That was dope as hell.
The Logan Paul frog splash that doesn't break the ladder.
The Logan Paul Ricochet Spanish fly that almost kills Logan Paul.
That almost kills Logan Paul that they've turned into an angle, I think, for SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Compliments again to Ricochet for seeing how wrong that move was about to go and
Catching him
correcting.
midway.
Yeah, because a little less rotation, I think Logan Paul would be in a neck brace right now.
Yeah.
He'd be in the Joel Gertner neck brace for like 20 years.
Basically.
I think out of everybody in this match, thinking about it again, they really showed Damian Priest as like a monster in this match. Like when you look at everybody in this match, though, the only people that didn't really get like a big spot for themselves were Escobar and Butch. Like they were just in the match. Mm-hmm. Ricochet and Logan got their table spot. LA Knight got his like big near the match finish hype. But Shinsuke, Bush, and Santos were just kind of there as filler.
It's hard to, because all three of them, well, I mean Santos aside, because I think he did some wild ladder match shit in NXT.
Yeah, him and Bush did some ladder match stuff in this too, but it was like very early and then just kind of forgotten about.
Yeah. Well, as far as like memorable moments, it's hard to do. I don't think Shinsuke really does ladder spots like that. I don't think he's ever, even going back to like New Japan, I don't think he's ever really done anything like that.
No, he just kicks the shit out of people.
It's kind of an odd pick, but I mean, I get it as far as the these are the people. This is the next class of like up and coming, and then and Logan Paul thrown in for.
This is easily like this is the new generation to whatever last generation's people were.
This is a new generation of Triple H's kids.
Yeah, we're moving away from the Hogan again. This is the new Bret Harts and the new Stone Colds are starting to like come in.
You're basically building your pool of challengers for the World Heavyweight Championship. You're pretty much building a main event scene around those guys. And to me, it makes sense, you know. And also, Damian Priest winning that ladder match, winning the Money in the Bank ladder match, it fuels the tension between him and Finn Balor moving forward. So that's going to be a pretty good few weeks of storytelling on top of that as well.
Yeah.
Considering what I think one of the matches for WrestleMania or SummerSlam is going to be.
And we brought it up. I'm really hoping they turn the right person in this feud. If it does turn into a Damian Priest Finn feud, but knowing their track record, I feel like they're going to turn the wrong person babyface.
Oh, they always do.
But we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I think you want the faction to be heel and you want the person to be face. I think that's how you want to do that versus the other way around.
Yeah. You get Damian Priest winning the ladder match, and that comes back later in the card during the Finn Seth match, which we'll talk about. But then we have our first like big throwaway match of the night, and that's the women's tag titles. I think we talked a lot about this on the previous attempt at recording. This women's tag division just is non-existent. These titles just should not exist. They should be a secondary title of some kind. Even like a women's TV title would be better than this right now.
Yep. There was a tweet or a post or something where Ronda was like, "Hey, they cut our time 3 different times." And I think that's just a theme from now on. I think they gave the time to the ladder matches and the main event, and then they cut everybody else's time.
Yeah, and it shows
working with scraps.
It shows in this match. This was just a TV match with a pay-per-view twist at the end. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, this division is just empty calories at this point. There's only one real tag team in this division, and that's Kaden Carter and Katana Chance, who they just brought up from NXT. And,
as evidenced by Monday when they did a tag team turmoil for women's matches, and all of them were slapdash tag teams except for I'll give a shout out to the Way that reformed for one night only.
You have the Way, you have Sonya and Chelsea Green, but like when you look at the tag teams of this, like the top of the card is Raquel and Liv and Ronda and Shayna, and one of that tag team is no longer. So I don't see any other tag team aside from Kaden and Katana being an actual like threat to, you know, the thing to it. But even if you bring up all the NXT women tag, like even the NXT women's tag team, I think is kind of dead because you took away a few.
Them.
Oh,
they merged the titles.
Okay.
That's how little you knew about it. They merged the titles.
Yeah, I was like, God, they don't have that many women's tag teams in NXT anymore since they took away Katana and Kaden. So yeah,
everything is just kind of slapped together here at this point. So
it should
really
be,
there's no real reason to care about the division right now.
It should be a women's TV title where you give it to the workhorse of the women's division and you let them be on TV weekly, you know, storylines around that and whatnot. But tag team it's a dead concept at this point.
I mean, yeah, just make it women's Intercontinental title, women's United States Championship, and that's it. Call it a day.
I wouldn't even bother splitting the brands about it.
Yeah, like I don't think there's enough. I don't think there's enough women in the division that you can put the whole women's division on both shows. Like you don't have to split it. There's legitimately like that little of a roster. It feels like.
And that's the reason why, you know, WWE's women's division is kind of suffering as a whole. Because outside of maybe the 4 horsewomen, you know, three now that Mercedes Moné is gone. Outside of them, Bianca Belair, Raquel, Rhea, who else is there? You know, like that's about it. There's just nothing.
Yeah, I mean, Bliss hasn't been around. Like, it's like
she just decided I'm just gonna go pop out a kid and I'll be back later.
Yeah, she's having a kid.
Yeah, it's like Bliss isn't around, and I mean a lot of your like potential future names are still in NXT, like Isla Fire or Abel Dawn or whatever the two.
No, they got called up, but they
have not been on TV. It feels like
they lost TV since they lost the title. So
I was gonna say they lost the titles is the last time they were on TV.
Welcome to the main roster.
Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of a dead tag team division, and these belts probably should just be retired at this point.
My notes were literally meh, and then I commented on the turn at the end.
I got like 6 sentences, and it's just what happened in the match. Like that's how nothing of a match this was. Because mid match you have Shayna turning on Ronda, and then Ronda left to 2v1, and you know,
I mean that was unique at least.
Yeah, it was. But after that turn, it's like, okay, well, back on Liv Morgan.
Yeah.
So, all right, then we get the IC title match. Gunther and Riddle, and you're right, there is a lot of history here. They have wrestled each other a lot outside of WWE. This is the 3rd match between them over the last 6 years.
6 or so odd years, yeah.
Their first match was 2017 when Bray Wyatt was a WWE champion.
Yeah.
And Dean Ambrose was the Intercontinental champion.
If you blinked, you missed that also.
If you went to the bathroom during this match, you missed the whole thing.
Yeah.
This match, the story was Riddle's ankle was fucked up, and there was a funny spot of them slapping Riddle's ankle with chops, which I thought was pretty funny. But
I thought that was hilarious.
That still looks super painful.
But submission hold on the ankle, and Gunther wins. The big thing about this match was the post-match, where Drew McIntyre returns, lays out Gunther, and holds up the IC title, which means we're getting a new IC feud to a degree. And if it's anything like these guys' match with Sheamus and everything, this feud's going to hit hard, and it's going to be fucking great.
Quite literally hit hard.
Sure, absolutely.
They're going to slap the shit out of each other. Because that's what I expect between any kind of match between Gunther, Drew McIntyre, and Sheamus. It is going to be just them slapping the hell out of each other as hard as they can.
Yeah,
big meaty men slapping meat.
Big meaty men slapping meat. This is European wrestling. Like this is just their hard hitting style. Yeah, European strong
It's
style.
not just a slogan. They actually slap the crap out of each other.
Yeah, it's great, and I can't wait to see this feud.
Mm-hmm. This is gonna be a good SummerSlam match.
Then we get the Dom and Cody match, which is a TV match that got promoted to a pay-per-view match. I don't understand why you have Cody going from Brock to Dom, or even Cody from.
I also want to say that when we say it was a TV match promoted to a pay-per-view match, we don't have any insider knowledge. We're just like going off of how TV quality the match was.
The way that this is booked, the way that Rhea tries to get involved, how long this match goes. This is a Raw match that they put in as filler. This is the filler arc of this pay-per-view.
Yes, it is.
This is the oh hi. Did you know Cody Rhodes was on the main roster? Here he is. And there he goes.
Yeah. And
I mean, good on Dom for getting the pay-per-view match, but at the same time, I had nothing for this match. All right.
Yeah.
It was just like 7-8 minutes of just Dom's antics running all over with him running all over the place.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah, it's Dom running around trying to escape, Rhea getting involved. He looks smart though after the first time where he just focuses on Dom and doesn't let Rhea get to him. It's one crossroads, and that's the win. But again, the note that I made for myself here is this man went 3-0 against Rollins, and Rollins is currently the one with the World Heavyweight title.
Yep.
So I'm just like,
he doesn't want the World Heavyweight. He wants the WWE.
But you could like give him something.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't want
Cody
it.
to get. Just do something with Cody to get him back on track.
It's better
because I think
it better end at WrestleMania 40. Like this story better fucking end in Pittsburgh.
It's the same thing. I think they're in Philly. It's the same thing with how Cody was in AEW, where he's like, I don't want to win the world championship, even though he could have been a world contender. He was like, I'm too close to the board here, or I'm an EVP. I don't want to have the world title.
I guess, but like, what the fuck, man? You have this guy feuding with Rollins, you have him feuding with Reigns, you have him feuding with Lesnar, and you're like, let's throw him against Dom on a pay-per-view.
Just because Brock Lesnar wasn't available.
And I'm like,
that's exactly what it was.
I'm just like, there's literally nobody else back there you could have put in this fucking match. Like, you couldn't have put anybody else in this position.
Compared to the matches, if you recall when we reviewed the 1991 Royal Rumble, where there was a bunch of nothing matches in there to fill time because they had to make up for Sergeant Slaughter or Macho Man going into
knocking
business
the
for
shit
himself.
out of Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Compared to that, like, there's a reason for those like filler matches where people can like, hey, you two, get in the ring, have a match.
Yeah, with the Seth and Finn match, that felt like the Big Boss Man match in terms of, okay, there's some action, but it's still going to go on just long enough. This match felt like the fucking Coco Beware match.
Yeah.
Like, this felt like the Coco Beware and the Mountie match that was so forgettable in that 1991 pay-per-view.
The best thing about that match was Jimmy Hart yelling at the macaw.
The most memorable part of that match was him yelling at a parrot.
And that's it.
It's just God, I'm like, get Cody back on fucking track and just end this storyline at WrestleMania,
sure.
please.
Like what they should do with him after SummerSlam, it's just do Cody Brock 3, have him win over Brock, and then we just move off of Brock. Put Cody in some more meaningful feuds. Okay,
go back to Alaska, Brock. Go be with your hot wife.
Just do something with Cody to get him back on track. Because if you're gonna have him in the main event of WrestleMania 40, now would be the time to start building him up. After Summer, where you could start making him a more credible opponent to Reigns again.
Yeah, so because he's getting the wins in these matches, but they unless he's against Brock, it doesn't really mean anything because he's going against the coward heel. Like, no one cares.
Yeah,
like, it's doing nothing for him right now. It's doing absolutely nothing, and I really feel like the crowd is just starting to cool off from Cody. Okay, even though they're still doing the whole whoa, and ultimately it's going to cool off if they keep going with this, going with him in this direction like this.
I'm like, he's not going to be hotter than he was the night he went against Roman at WrestleMania. Like, even the win at 40 is going to feel so subpar to it, because by that time, who knows how many matches Roman would have lost and how many members of the bloodline would have finally left. You know, like, is it just going to be Roman versus Cody? It's not going to be Solo in his corner or anything. It's going to be like, oh, look, Roman has like lost all of his power by the time Cody beats him. And it's like, okay.
I think the storyline that they're going for is that like Roman's still a completely credible threat up until something pivotal happens down that line.
Yeah.
Towards WrestleMania, where like Solo leaves, and then all he's got is Heyman. WrestleMania's in Philly. Heyman leaves.
Yeah.
As the last middle finger to Roman, and then Cody wins.
It's just like that lack of impact, though. It's like, okay, he beat Roman at Roman's lowest in years.
Yeah.
Big win there, Cody. Like, I just want him to get back on track, and I just want this Roman stuff to be over. Like, there's a nice little twist now since the Usos are gone, but like, bro, I'm just so tired of Roman.
Yeah.
I'm just so tired of Roman Reigns. Like, I really fucking am. Bro, I just want to get off the ride. Like, the Roman Express never ends. Oh, just go to Hollywood, man. Like, that's what you want to do. That's what Rollins is setting up to do. He's like, fuck this, I'm going to Hollywood.
He's in Captain America.
He is in Captain America.
The new one.
The new one that's coming out in next March.
Yeah, it's he's playing one of the Serpent Society. Then so after that, nothing of a match. We have the Grayson Waller and John Cena little promo, and that's Cena trying to hype up the crowd to get WrestleMania to London, because apparently they feel like they can sell that place out now since the other company can.
Hey,
so,
they made like what, $10 million? We can make 11.
Yeah, so
you know what I mean? So that's pretty much all that was.
Yeah, it's a little back and forth. Then he hits Grayson with an attitude adjustment, and that's it. It's a kind of a one-off. They said it's a one-off. He's not being set up for a program or anything with Grayson Waller.
Yeah.
Just a nice little, here's John Cena for the crowd.
And here's a nice little WWE pulling a Bethesda and announcing something years in advance before they even have it planned to do.
An announcement of an announcement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my thing with this is I've seen the reports that it is very possible that WWE hosting WrestleMania at London has hit the London Parliament.
Yes, London Parliament is talking about it because they do realize like that could be a lot of income, a lot of tourism and stuff like that. So it is a big event. I will give it to that. Like, WWE is a known brand. It is a known quantity. If there's a stadium crowd as hyped as this one for a major pay-per-view, it's going to be electric. I'd love to see it. But we'll see. I guess it's whatever goes on next year, because I don't think they've announced next year's location yet.
I think they've been waiting.
I do feel like there has to be a lot of planning, though, so I don't know if they have the time to schedule a WrestleMania in London and then announce it by WrestleMania of this year. So
that's usually what they do, right? Like during the WrestleMania.
They'll announce what next year's WrestleMania is. So,
but I mean,
it's like I said, I think this event's maybe 2 or 3 years off from now.
Yeah,
it's going to be well after AEW.
We're coming eventually.
Yeah,
that's what it. They're probably going to say, we are coming to London eventually.
When you go to like a concert or whatever, and towards the end they're like, "Hey guys, we'll be back eventually." Yeah. That's what this energy was.
Yeah. So after the crowd hype there from John Cena, we get the women's ladder match, which had good moments. They got time to do.
Right person to win.
They got the right winner. They had some time to do some stuff. Io Sky gets the Money in the Bank after handcuffing Bayley to Becky in a very dangerous, or potentially dangerous spot if that ladder had fallen.
Yeah, that would have been at least a dislocated shoulder.
At least a dislocated shoulder.
But it was a funny visual also. So.
It was a very good finish to this match. It was very creative.
Very Wile E. Coyote.
Because we brought up in the last time we talked about this, they set up those handcuffs not for that finish, but for Zoe Stark and Trish Stratus to try to beat the shit out of Becky. And Becky wrestled the match after escaping from them with that handcuff on, so it was always present.
If I remember correctly, at one point during that match, she fish hooked Bailey with the handcuffs down the ladder, which
I think she
thought was
did.
pretty funny.
Yeah, she did. It was just pretty funny. Yeah, she hooked her cheek with the handcuff, which was pretty funny to see. Some moments in this match that I kind of liked at the beginning of the match when everybody's fighting outside the ring, they have like Zelina trapped under a ladder. She's not getting involved in the fight while everybody else is. She's like pinned to the ground by a ladder.
Yeah, that was funny.
Zelina was great in this match.
Zelina was great. She hit a very good power bomb onto Zoe Starks onto the ladder with that little like Liv Morgan style like sunset flip from the ladder that they do. I think Zelina's done it twice in previous ladder matches.
In as many ladder matches, yeah.
Yeah. Becky having some Phoenix gear was a really nice take on things.
I just love. I can't wait for Seth to have. The movie comes out, and he just comes out dripped out. He just comes out in the outfit from the movie.
Yeah. I was kind of saying, like, when I saw Becky come out in Phoenix gear, I'm like, oh, please tell me Seth shows up in, like, Cyclops gear or something. To, like,
Right.
his... Like, that'd
be funny.
That would have been sweet. You got Zelina kind of looking like all Jiri colors again. She seems to have, like, a color pattern going on with all of her outfits now. But yeah, this was also a very good showcase for Zoe Starks. A recent NXT call-up, kind of acting like the enforcer to Trish, which I think is a very good role for her. She has the physique and the charisma.
She definitely has the physique for it.
The physique and charisma to kind of be like the enforcer type in the women's division. And she's not a bad wrestler either.
She's pretty good
from the stuff that I've seen in NXT from her.
I think having Trish there as like her mentor figure is a smart decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the big thing is Io Sky wins, which all of us,
the correct person.
It's the Fallout thing popping up. Everybody liked that.
Everybody liked that.
Because there was a time where I'm like, God damn it, they're gonna put it back on fucking Bailey or Becky, aren't they? And then no, handcuff spot, and I'm seeing Io climb up, and I'm like, they're actually doing it. They listen to the Puerto Rico crowd.
Yeah, I think a majority of that match was just them pushing the current storylines between these women, with the whole Becky, Trish, Zoe, Bailey, and Io, and Zelina just doing her thing, and yeah. I mean, it was a decent match for what it was, but they definitely picked the right winner in Io Sky because I'm so looking forward to her and Asuka just eventually clashing.
Yeah,
that's really what I want.
Really
from all
good
of
match.
this.
Like we said, just give us a full Stardom style, just like them beating the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I want it to be as Stardom gets, but in WWE.
Then we get the World Heavyweight title match. Finn Balor versus Seth Rollins. I made a note here. I forgot about. With all the traveling that they do, how the hell does Finn keep this physique? Like,
he makes gym time every time.
Yeah,
like, it's the same way. It's the same way that Sheamus can run a YouTube show where he's like, going to the gym with with people who work there.
It's so funny because you look at
it's called calorie deficit. That's probably what he's eating.
He's also hella in deficit right now.
Yeah,
he's
you like look
deficit.
At when Gunther came back, he had like this shredded physique and everything. And then like as you watch his like more recent matches, he's starting to lose like the muscle. He's starting to like
definition. Yeah,
and I'm like
allowing himself to have calories again.
Yeah, but like Finn coming out, I was like, God, this guy doesn't sleep. He just hits the gym and then comes and wrestles, and then hits the gym and comes and wrestles. Like, it's crazy. Like if he can just the fact that he can make that schedule to do that like that intensely is also just crazy.
Yeah.
I don't think he's lost his physique in the amount of time he's been in WWE. He's been the same since he's got here.
Yeah,
which is impressive.
Yeah. He's always been ripped.
He's
always been ripped.
He's a very good-looking man. I'll say that.
Yeah. The story of this match is Rollins has some injured ribs, so there's a lot of focus on the ribs. The stomp, if he hits it, is probably going to be, the dedicated finish to this match, considering. But mid-match, Damian Priest arrives. And it causes some tension. It causes some confusion from Finn, because as he goes up to the turnbuckle to try to coup de grace, Damian stands up as if he's about to cash in, and that leads to some miscommunication, and then Rollins gets out of the way, hits the stomp, gets the pin. Priest does not cash in on this match. And then there is some tension between him and Balor. Furthering that story right off the bat, like not even waiting a night. They're like, no, right into it. Let's start this right now.
Yeah, because I think before, there was some tension between Finn and Balor, between Finn and Damian Priest, but I guess they were kind of making up. But now that Priest has won Money in the Bank, this is just going to intensify that tension even more until it hits a boiling point.
Yeah, because if Finn wins the title, he has a target on his back still, even if it's somebody in his own, his own faction. I mean, these guys are always going to put on a good match, if they're not given a lot of time. And again, it felt like a very TV match. Everybody hit their signatures, their regular moves, and we got a distraction finish. Well, not a distraction finish, but like a hesitation finish from Finn trying to hit the stomps.
Yeah.
Because there's a drama in the Judgment Day.
Drama.
Then we get to the match that we all loved. This match, if this was what they took away time for to put into this, the Bloodline Civil War match definitely lived up to hype in some ways. And again, the running pattern of this pay-per-view, the right person won. And the right team won, but the right person on that team also won, which was very good. We start off with a hell of a hype package detailing the whole story, even back from the pandemic days. It's pretty much telling the entire story of Jay and Roman's history. The Usos, hell of a reception from the crowd. This crowd was on fire. The match quality, though, could not live up to it.
I'm gonna disagree with that, actually.
So do I.
Well, no, and a lot of the other matches, like even if the crowd was hot during them, they were still kind of.
I was gonna say this match was hyped. This is a great storytelling.
This was a great fucking match.
It was a great match. It was good storytelling. It was action packed. Rested when they needed to rest. They had the callbacks to when Roman low blowed Jay, and then Jay getting a revenge on that.
Yeah.
Great use to Easter eggs for these guys, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then you just
good.
Oh, and then there's Solo Sikoa, who was just phenomenal in this match also. And there's one moment I think you're gonna get into shortly, but where it just seems like he just loses all respect for Roman.
Yes.
Gives him a pep talk.
Yeah.
So
Paul Heyman was fantastic in this also.
Yeah, the crowds early in the match, the crowd starts chanting something insulting to Roman, and you see Jimmy visibly breaking character, laughing at it. I love how these Bloodline stories, it's just the Usos trying so hard to not break, whether it be Sammy or the crowd, but it's just
they cannot stay in character to save their life.
No, they cannot. The first hint of tension here from Roman's side of things is him demanding a tag in early in the match, and Solo really hesitating to tag in Roman.
Yeah.
Definitely carrying on the theme of like gaslighting, abuse, everything that they built up with Roman when it comes to the Usos. Again, they're right. Solo is their brother, not Roman's. So it's going to be interesting to see how all of that starts to play out. You're right. They do rest in this match when they need to. Solo does his nice little pressure point hold, which gives them enough time to collect themselves, because this match went on for like half hour, I think.
Yeah. It went on
minutes.
for a bit. Yeah. One of the things I like about storylines involving siblings is that no one ever questions why the siblings are fighting each other, because everyone knows siblings fight. That's just a thing they do. Even Jimmy and Jay said their dream match was WrestleMania, them two against each other.
Yeah. It was them two against each other, which would have been, I'd love to see that. I'd love to see that chemistry and everything play out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a funny moment with Paul Heyman counseling Roman Reigns.
He wants them to sit at his table. He wants your kids to sit on his table.
Telling Roman that Jay wants Roman's kids to sit at his table, not Roman's, and that got Roman fired up and back into the ring.
Yeah.
Then we get our usual breakdown of Uso matches, a lot of tag team stuff, a lot of Superman punches, double super kicks, spears.
And don't forget that and don't forget that ref bump, because there's always one in every one of these matches.
Yeah, there is a ref bump. Where then Jay gets a visual pin, even though nobody's counting, so that's cool. He tries to do his double stack pin, the callback. Both of the Usos kick out. Roman's flabbergasted. And my favorite thing is Solo putting himself through the table. Like they have the Uso on the table. Solo goes up, gets out of the way, and Solo just full sends himself into the table, which is really funny.
That was funny.
Full send.
I want to say that's probably Solo's contribution, that he's like, I'm just going to put myself through a table.
That was great.
We get the pin on Jay. We get the 2. Jay kicks out and does the low blow that Roman did to him.
Mm-hmm.
And that sets up for the finish here, where the Usos do their super kicks to both of them. And then we get the splash from Jay, and Jay gives Roman his first pinfall loss in 3 years. And like I said, the right person on the team won.
The right person on the team won. The right person ate the pin, crucially.
The right person ate the pin. It had to be Jay and Roman.
And Jay ends another streak from Roman.
Yeah.
Yep.
And just great storytelling throughout this match. Great callbacks, great, displays of ego. It's like, I can pin both of them again.
I get the sense from this match that this is a match where the wrestlers they didn't necessarily book themselves, but they had control over who did what in the match.
I would say
versus
if anything,
a producer.
I would say if anything, this was probably them and Paul Heyman.
Yeah, for sure.
Putting this match together, not Trips or any of his guys. I think this was the Bloodline and Paul Heyman being allowed to sit down and put this match together.
I think it's one of those things where it's like they'll give it to Triple H for approval, but Triple H knows that the 4 of them and Paul Heyman can call a match and just like, all right, yeah, it's cool, whatever.
Yeah, he trusts them. He trusts them completely.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm just gonna let you guys go.
Yep.
Come up with something. And I'll just approve it.
And that pin, the crowd just went fucking nuts. Like,
it's almost a good thing that all the other matches leading up to this, except for the 2 ladder matches, were like meh, because that makes this
have to have the energy
of this. Yeah,
the energy had to be there for this match. If Seth and Finn had put on like a 30-minute banger before this, I think this match would have suffered.
No.
So they're like, no, we're giving.
That's not saying the match was bad. Just like it wasn't to this quality. Like, it was a decent match.
Yeah, this match was great.
This match was much better. Yeah.
I'm curious to see where it goes tonight, because now Roman Reigns is on trial.
The trial of the tribal chief.
Yeah, and I just got a feeling that this might be the start of the beginning of the end of the Bloodline storyline.
Yeah, for sure.
It's been a long 3.5 years that we've all sat through this, and going back to the pandemic. And I ain't gonna lie, like it had a lot of great moments. And if this is the beginning of the end, this is one of the greatest storylines that WWE has put on in the last 2 decades.
Yeah,
I mean, this is going all the way back to the Attitude Era.
I would literally say, I would actually go further and say best ever.
Yeah, it's up there.
Yeah, they didn't have a lot of, I think even back in the Attitude Era, they didn't have a lot of like long running storylines. They just had a lot of constant rivalries. You'd always get Stone Cold and The Rock, or Stone Cold and Triple H, but it was never like
the corporation.
A ministry and corporation. It was never a long storyline. It was just changes to a long running like rivalry from time to time.
Right.
It varied. Like this was, in terms of storyline, like even like Sting in the NWO wasn't really a storyline. It was just the norm. Which, like, Stone Cold versus Vince McMahon was the norm.
Okay. Sting and the NWO was like a will he, won't he situation for like 2 years, as I recall.
And then he did, and it kind of just everything became the NWO in different factions. But it did have an influence because we got the LWO back. So,
Right.
but yeah, I mean, this is a story. Like Stone Cold and Vince is a rivalry. Kane and Undertaker is a rivalry. I think probably the closest thing it's like a good long story would be Evolution and its like downfall. From them turning on Randy and then Batista turning on Trips. But yeah, I can't think of another storyline in recent years that has been, like this.
Yeah, I don't even like because that didn't even last that long. That was like, what was that? Orton winning. That was like Orton winning the world title, and then he does a thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah, and then
but that was like that comparatively.
Yeah, and I mean, even when the Shield first showed up, it wasn't a storyline. It was just them being there.
Here I am. We're gonna beat the shit out of people.
Yeah, they were part of the norm. They weren't a storyline.
The Nexus. Yeah, all of that stuff.
Yeah, those weren't stories. They were just, here's our shaking up of the current landscape.
So, so I guess what y'all are trying to say is this is pretty much a sort of new territory for WWE.
In terms of storytelling, this is the strongest WWE has ever done.
Yeah,
I would say even Kenny Omega's like year and a half reign of doom is also like doesn't compare to this as far as
and that
consistent
was
storyline.
That was a really good build up with Hangman Page as well. It kind of wrapping up their little 2-year storyline as well.
Yeah, for sure.
I think the closest thing that we'd have to like a story in AEW right now, or like not like a feud based storyline, but an actual story that has gone on for years, is the Dark Order and Hangman story. Of is he their friend? Is he with them or not? And now it seems like they're starting to turn on him. But it's never been like a constant focus. It's always been this thing that has always existed in AEW's landscape. It's just been the status quo of Hangman and the Dark Order have always had this connection.
I think the problem is that they're all like lower carders and effectively riding Hangman's coattails at times.
I feel they suffered a lot because of Brody Lee passing. I feel like if Brody Lee hadn't passed, they'd still be in like the upper mid card, if not like the main event picture. Like they'd be a more relevant faction. I think they just really got the short end of it with how life, proceeded. But yeah, I mean, this was a few good matches and then mostly a nothing pay-per-view. But I think the matches where it counted, the right people won. Damian Priest, Io Sky, and then Jey Uso.
And I think the media scrum after kind of sums up, I think the direction WWE is taking a lot of their superstars it's the wait and see approach, as said by Triple H. And I know that's hard to do when we've been so conditioned to like the next premium live event. That's where the storyline is going to conclude. That's just not how it is anymore.
Yeah.
And because it's on a subscription service now, I'm not. Like back in the day when this was like $60 for a pay-per-view or $50-$60, I would have been like pissed. I would have been like, this is easily not worth your money. But like, $9, whatever. This is I'd say this is worth $9. Barely.
Yeah. I mean, like that's it with like AEW's pay-per-views also. It's like when you get to one of their 4 pay-per-views a year, with the exception of like Forbidden Door and everything, which are just, like we said, just exhibition matches for the most part. It's like, oh shit, is there going to be a title reign? Like or a title change? Like it feels like a must see because you've been given months of build up to it.
Yeah, they feel like season finales almost in AEW's case.
Yeah, and
like,
they always are. So they always are. Like the event happens, and then you get a whole new like landscape of who's on TV.
It's effectively new season.
I am loving this Adam Cole MJF tag team though. I don't know if you guys saw the stuff that came out of.
It's hilarious. It is hilarious.
MJF is acting like the most doofus baby face, and it's so funny.
Oh my god!
Just the birthday bash. He's in the hat. He's singing "Happy Birthday" to Adam Cole. When all the birthday streamers come down, X, I don't know if you noticed it, but none of them went to Adam Cole. They all landed on MJF.
Yeah, they did, because they were all piled up in the corner.
Yeah, they were all piled up in one corner, just covering MJF like all the streamers meant for Adam Cole's birthday.
This was so stupid. It was great. And I loved it. Every single second of that.
Gotta
It's
catch up then.
it's so funny. And this whole blind tag team thing that they have going on, in terms of what they've been doing, it doesn't make sense, but it has led to some funny moments. Like
It's kind of stupid, actually.
It
like,
is.
I laughed though when Daddy Magic and the Butcher got put on a team, and he's like, "Us, we're Magic Meat." And I was like,
What the
God, I fucking love Daddy Magic. He's such a
Daddy Magic is fucking hilarious.
That's
That guy is a
2.0.
That guy's gold.
2.0 is a great comedy tag team, and it's still so funny.
They were squandered in WWE for sure.
Magic Meat. Jesus Christ.
They had the great match with Swerve, Keith Lee, Orange Cassidy, and Darby, where Keith Lee was finally allowed to shine. And goddamn, he still looks so good in the ring. Like him walking Swerve out with Darby and like the suplex, like out from the corner to powerbomb him. I'm like, that strength is absurd.
He's a large man. They are children to him.
Yeah, that was the thing. Darby tried to do was like jump off the rope, like mini coffin drop to Keith, and Keith just stood there as Darby bounced off of him. So I was just like, I love this. But yeah, and this thing is like, I think you can do this when you're not on, when you're kind of on the road to a pay-per-view, like have these weird gimmick things of like random tag teams. I think setting up to take on FTR. They are still the tag team, right? They just haven't been on.
Yes.
I don't watch a Collision, so could be
They
sure.
have a tag team title match on Collision, I believe. This Collision.
Yeah,
coming
they're
up
going against
tomorrow.
Bullet Club Gold, I believe.
Yeah.
So I feel like all of these are building up to be like their next not rivals, probably not at All In, but probably to be like, oh look, we're fill our feud for the next thing while we build up another team to go against them. Or hey, this random tag team will serve as like the catalyst for them finding another tag team to come up against them.
We were just saying how the WWE is kind of weird for doing that at pay-per-views, but I think it's perfectly fine for doing it at a weekly TV show, where especially if they take the person down and in the same breath after the promo are like, well, who's next? Who's gonna fight me next? Who's next? You know, something like that. I think that's fine on a TV.
Now, while I don't like the idea of a blind tag team format, if we can somehow keep getting matches like this, I'm okay with it, honestly, because we know they're just trying to find some challenges for FTR, and I'm pretty certain that's going to either take place at some kind of, I guess, on an episode of Collision or wherever they decide to put them on. But I don't know, man. So far, it hasn't been as bad as I thought this was going to be.
There's been some weirdly good chemistry on some of these wrestlers. But yeah, it definitely feels like oh, hey, look, we are setting up FTR and Bullet Club for like our next pay-per-view, like title match.
It's because it's not actually blind, guys. They know they're tagging.
Yeah, I mean they know they're tagging, so
they know they're tagging. But
you still see people that you don't expect to be in the same ring together.
Yeah, that's a remarkable thing about it. I don't like the premise of like this random group can be the next tag team contenders, because that's what we're talking about right now with the women's thing in WWE.
Yeah, it definitely feels like FTR and Bullet Club Gold though will be like the big pay-per-view match. I just find it sad that like Ricky Stark's been kind of pushed out of his own story in favor of FTR and Bullet Club now. Because it's like, oh, the Bullet Club's jumping Ricky Starks, and now FTR is taking on Bullet Club. So unless Bullet Club bringing in a third person, I don't think Ricky Starks is really going to stick around with FTR for a while.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but what can you do?
Yeah, what gets me is in terms of their trios titles, Malachi has requested that he strictly be on Collision. Which is interesting now, because it's like, okay, is Collision gonna be like the trio show at this point too, like to keep them relevant? Or
I don't know.
Malachi strikes me as, because remember when the first episode of Collision hit, the first thing I said was like, well, that's where all the shit stirrers went. They had CM Punk on the card, you had FTR on the card.
Yeah.
All that was missing was really MJF and the Elite, but they're going to be on Dynamite for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
I think Malachi wants House of Black to be seen prominently on Collision. And that's probably why he requested to be on there.
Yeah.
What it means for the trios titles, though, I'm not sure because I'm not quite sure what they're gonna do about that.
I'm just
Because
wondering
in
who
the
the
event
next.
that they lose those,
Yeah, I'm just wondering who the next like challengers are because they've kind of blown through everybody.
at this point, yeah. So I don't know. They're gonna have to slap a team together for them to face.
I mean, I can probably see them going against, if they move the Ring of Honor guys in, maybe Gates of Agony.
That'd be a good one. Yeah.
They can go against the best friends for the billionth time.
Yeah, they have that. What I think might be happening is we might be waiting for Pac to come back.
For Death Triangle.
To get it back on Death Triangle.
Yeah,
I don't want it to be
issues right now.
I think he's just taking time to wrestle in England.
Oh, okay.
Rather than travel to the US with like visa stuff and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like I'm thinking about like the trios division, and it's like, aside from some new guys, like the team of Darius Martin, AR Fox, and Action Andretti, and then you have your Ring of Honor 6-man tag teams like Brian Cage and the Gates of Agony, and Dalton Castle and the Boys. I don't really see a lot of AEW's like trios guys taking the titles off of House of Black, unless you move.
Speaking of teams, speaking of people who like fell off the face of a cliff, Action Andretti, man, he was so hot winning against Chris Jericho, and then they kind of did nothing.
Yeah, I think this might be another case of Dante got injured, so it's like we need to keep their trios together because it was Top Flight and AR Fox together. So it's like, all right, Action Andretti, you're gonna fill the spot until Dante comes back, and then we'll whatever. I think it's just kind of people being put into positions that need to be filled instead of being kept in their own thing.
And I think that's pretty much the purpose of Action Andretti right now. He's just pretty much being the placeholder for Dante Martin, until he gets back. And then they might do something with him after that. I'm not sure, though.
I mean, these guys are still young, too, so it's not like they're going to instantly shove them into, world title pictures and all that. I think they're just trying to keep them somewhat relevant for, the future and everything. And I think those three are currently just primarily on Ring of Honor right now, too. So I want more Dalton Castle, though. I saw the guy once on pay-per-view, and I just need more of him in my life. Dalton Castle
really good
on pay-per-view.
Dalton Castle and the Boys is so great.
I've seen them live. It's such a good act live.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was gonna like it at first. But like, first off, that outfit he wears to the ring is like very slimming, so it's like discordant when he like takes it off, and he's like up a size, which is great. Like he's got a good look, but it's very weird to see that where it just and he's like a different size now.
Yeah, I just love the character work too. Like he's so ridiculous. I do like how they finally split people into Ring of Honor and AEW though, and there's not a lot of crossover anymore. There's still some. I mean, Claudio still is Ring of Honor champion, but it's not really mentioned anymore on AEW. So
he's
it's
just like, because on
kind of
AEW,
like
he's just pretty much a BCC member.
Yeah, it's the Kenny thing where it's like, hey, I'm Kenny Omega on AEW, and I'm the best bout machine in New Japan.
In New Japan, yeah.
And Claudio's
those are
like
very different Kennys.
And Claudio's like, I'm part of the BCC on AEW, and then I'm just Claudio in Ring of Honor. So I do like that being a thing, but it's interesting. Like they're still a young company, 4 years, so I'm excited to see where the next 4 are and where all these young guys are by then. Are Top Flight going to stay with AEW when their contract runs out, or are they going to be pulled into NXT? It's interesting to see where these guys who still have decades ahead of them end up when the contracts start to, come to a close.
Darby's going to climb Mount Everest next year, and I'm a little concerned about that.
Konosuke is going to be in a fucking bidding war. Everybody's going to want this motherfucker.
Yeah, for sure. He's a stud.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's on WWE's radar right now because
he is for sure.
I guarantee they got an eye on him, especially Triple H.
WWE will pick up everybody to ensure nobody else has them. Bandito had one TV match in the US, and WWE was calling him for a contract.
Yep.
But why do you think And the thing is, why do you think the Brits over there they're complaining about how NXT destroyed British wrestling because Triple H was just scooping those guys left and right.
Yep.
There can't be a competition if you have all the competition.
Yeah.
But Konosuke, even though he was like the ace of DDT for a while, like he was their like shining star in that promotion. I wouldn't be surprised if New Japan like offers him a contract.
Oh, they probably have already.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, this guy knows strong style. This guy knocked the fuck out of Tomohiro Ishii.
Yeah,
I've never seen Ishii get collapsed like that.
He sold that.
That man folded.
I wouldn't be surprised if he shoot KO'd him just because Tomohiro told him to.
Yeah.
Like,
I would not be surprised.
Tomohiro's
like, actually hit me.
He's like, I want you to hit me. And Konosuke's like, okay.
And there was a small slow in that pay-per-view after that happened. Because it's like, it kind of slowed down for like a good 5 minutes after he just
because they're like, oh fuck, Tomohiro's supposed to be in the ring right now. I think we have to improvise. Like, I don't think he was meant to actually knock his ass out like that. Like,
did you guys see?
Kind of macho man him.
He really did. Did you guys ever see that interview with Chris Van Villay where he interviewed Ken Shamrock? Where the Rock whacked him over the head with the chair, and he's like, if you don't hit me, I'm not gonna sell it. And the Rock's like, oh, I'll hit you, and then he just like whams, like clocks him. And in that moment, you can see where he's like,
Shamrock.
And you can see in that moment where he's like pointing like this, like you do it, like
yeah.
And you can see where he just like gets knocked out.
Yeah,
it's probably something like that.
I think that's what happened too in New Japan during the Mox Ospreay match the first time they took on each other, where Ospreay debuted the hidden blade like elbow that he does. I think he KO'd Moxley because that was the finish of the match. So I don't think Moxley knew it was coming, and Ospreay just fucking nails him with an elbow. And it's like somebody put in a comment, it's like, this is the moment where he KO'd him. And I was like, oh god.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we're just gonna call that getting Macho Man from now on.
I'm with it.
Oh god. If you haven't watched the episode for the 91 Royal Rumble, watch just the match of Ultimate Warrior and Sergeant Slaughter and just watch how hard Macho Man puts his whole ass into that swing.
Full hips, rotation, and everything.
That match had 10 minutes to go. And it had to end there because Macho Man put his lights out. Like,
he put a considerable amount of elbow grease into that shot.
You could hear like just the sound of the impact too.
Sick.
You know that he was like, oh yep, that's just shoot clocking him with this scepter.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that was about it, guys. That wasn't
wrestling's in a pretty good place, even though
it is in a great fucking place
great.
right now. And I mean, even Impact is doing well right now, even though they're not being watched. Like, they've constantly had good wrestling and good stories. Like, people just aren't watching Impact. And
I really just wish Impact was more visible. If they were on another channel, other than Access, it would be great.
They have a great women's division. Like,
they probably have one of the best women's divisions right now.
I have a channel here at my girlfriend's that if you click on it, because they have like a weird TV guide for smart TVs.
Yeah.
One of them just plays old Impact shows, and I've watched them every now and again. But I'll fall asleep watching it and wake up and look again, and it's like that's the same show I just watched. Because it's like Final Destination 2016 or some shit like that.
Yeah, I mean, wrestling's in a great fucking place right now, and
I agree.
As long as talent keeps showing up in lower promotions, like, they're going to keep catching the eyes of these bigger promotions. And I mean, this week too, or is it this week or next week, Nick Wayne is finally making his AEW debut, and like AEW is going all out with it. They're making like promotional videos, they're doing like hype packages. I mean, this was the like 16-year-old wrestling prodigy on all of the indies, and now he's finally 18 and able to wrestle on an actual promotion.
I've seen Nick Wayne wrestle in GCW a few times. That kid is phenomenal, man. Like, I think everybody is in for a treat when they watch Nick Wayne debut. What was it, this coming Wednesday on Dynamite?
I think so.
Yeah, I think you guys are in for a treat because the kid's phenomenal for an 18-year-old wrestler. He is.
I mean, people can say everything they want to about this, about modern wrestling and like what performers do and like the stories that are told and how stuff goes down in the ring. It's better than whatever the fuck the 1991 style of wrestling was. Like, I'm more entertained watching this shit because I know that it's, at this point in time, I know that it's rehearsed. I know that it's jock theater. But it's just like, I can't do any of that shit. So it's fucking entertaining for me. And sometimes they still surprise you with plot twists and stuff like that. But it's just like, okay, I'm not going crazy about this because the business is revealed. It's just like, these guys are fucking athletic.
Yeah, it's what did you call it to when you were describing it? It's like jock theater.
Yeah, jock theater.
Yeah,
it is jock theater.
It's basically a lot of super athletic guys doing, you know, pretty much things that defy the law of physics. It's either that or somebody just getting completely peppered with a forearm.
Yeah,
and get knocked out for a few minutes. You know, and it stops a match, but it's entertaining to watch.
Yeah, it's just, I just love wrestling, man.
So do
right.
I.
It's in a good spot. It's, you know, it's cool right now.
Wrestling today, like watching wrestling today is what I thought watching wrestling when I was a kid was. Like if I try to think back to Sting and Diamond Dallas Pictures, I watched a lot of WCW growing up. It's
You live
like
in Virginia, go figure.
my mind goes to, this is what they were doing at the time, but it wasn't. Theirs was a lot slower and, you know, selling and made to look more realistic. But my mind sees it as what I watch modern wrestling as.
I mean,
today.
granted, they did a lot of goofy shit back then too. I mean, we had RoboCop come in for
RoboCop. And Sting,
be forced on a match.
and Sting had his moment in TNA where he hits him with a chair and it's a Sting mask and he pulls it off and it's Sting with the face paint still on.
Sting
and I'm
removes
like,
mask, reveal Sting.
like Sting removes the mask and reveals Sting. Like,
So what do I think? That was a WCW thing too, wasn't it?
yeah, they did it in WCW once or twice, and then he did it in TNA.
It's a great spot.
I wanted to do it once, and I wanted to see him do it once in AEW.
Like Buff Bagwell punches Sting and then he just pulls the mask off and starts beating everybody.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, wrestling's in a great fucking place right now, and even even the WWE product's improving since Trips has kind of corrected the ship a little bit. We saw the tweet a few days ago, WWE trying to figure out how to stop Vince from changing the shows. I think that tweet was shared in the Discord.
Yeah,
because that's honestly what it feels like. It feels like all the employees are now trying to outsmart the manager at like a restaurant or something.
It's like if you have a kid who has a toy and you don't want they're like, you know, thrashing around with it. You don't want them to have the toy, so you put it somewhere else. And they're like, but they're gonna get another one. Tell them they can't have one.
I think that's why I think that's also follows up with the original tweet of like why they're announcing more stuff on shows. It's just to prevent Vince from changing it when he gets there.
Change it last minute if it's already announced.
They're basically doing what people. They're basically doing what people do to their little brothers. It's like, hey, you want to play the game here? Here, take this controller and it's unplugged. But it's still trying to play it anyway. That's pretty much what they're doing with Vince right now.
I want somebody to give one of these to Vince and just see if it distracts him long enough so they can run the fucking episode.
Give him a Rubik's Cube.
This has been like this for 3 months, by the way. I do not know how to solve Rubik's Cubes. So I just have a mixed up Rubik's Cube on my desk. But yes, I'm excited for the next big pay-per-view, which I believe is SummerSlam.
And then all
Out.
in?
I think it's All Out and then All In.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, All In and then All Out, which is a week later.
It's a week later?
Yeah.
It's a week later. Yeah, I think, AEW sort of has that problem. Well, every now and then they have that problem with them slamming pay-per-views together also.
Yes. So we have All In England on the 27th of August. Then we have All Out back here in the US in Chicago in September 3rd.
Can't wait for CM Punk to come out to Miseria Cantera again.
And then I believe SummerSlam is our next WWE one.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, August 5th. So we might have to do a double episode.
Again.
Depending on when we record this. No, it's the 27th of August. So yes, we have this one 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, and then back-to-back episodes of this show.
Hey. Content,
Welcome
y'all. Welcome to the
the
summer.
summer of wrestling.
Yep.
Oh, the
Alrighty.
also fun fact of the SummerSlam, the 2023 edition of SummerSlam will be the last event in which WWE is owned and controlled by McMahon. So every pay-per-view after SummerSlam will now be owned by Endeavor. I guess with
Oh, boy.
some of their say in it. So
That's
Hey,
going to be
Vince-
interesting to see.
Vince is still on the board for Endeavor, so it doesn't really change anything.
yeah, he's a executive chairman, and then Nick Khan is president. The
Mhm.
merger is expected to be completed the second half of 2023. So interesting.
Oh boy.
I'm looking at key people here on WWE's like company website too, and it's just like it feels like the Illuminati because they're just they're names that I don't recognize. So it's like, who the fuck else is in this company? It's Vince, Nick Khan, some guy named Frank Riddick. It's like, who are you? How deep does this go? Like,
Pretty deep.
In the shadows.
he's president.
pro
Frank
wrestling.
Frank Riddick is president, and yet I don't think I've ever heard that man's name. But anyway. So yeah, that was our Money in the Bank 2023 pay-per-view. Mid, I'll say.
It's
It had high
I-
points, but
I suppose that is the literal definition of mid, yeah.
yeah, it
I
had
was
some
gonna
high
call, I was gonna
points.
call it
But
something lower than mid, but yeah,
It's pretty mid.
it is
pretty
a
mid.
it is a watchable pay-per-view.
but only just.
Only just. You can just, I would say, main event, 2 ladder matches. Would be-
Opener, middle, and then end. And
Yeah.
that'll do you.
The like 4 other matches were just kind of TV matches that got
They're
promoted.
just they're just there.
But yeah, so anybody else have anything?
No, I think
That's about all I got.
Hour 15 is perfect.
Yep, definitely. Better than our first try.
Yeah, for sure.
When we were recording this for the first time, we talked about the entire pay-per-view and the main event and our thoughts, and then I looked at the time and it was 45 minutes. So we had to draw this out a little bit, but thank you all for watching this episode of Squared Triangle. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me once again.
As
Uh,
always.
Yeah, we'll be gone for a few weeks before our SummerSlam episode and then our back-to-back AEW episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be back to the regular podcast starting next week. If we can figure out what to do. Get Haley back in here and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, everybody, you have a good night. Follow us on our Twitter and everything. It's not updated a lot, but whenever there are updates, they'll usually go there first. And we'll see you all around. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Squared Triangle. Find us wherever you get your podcasts under the Without Context podcast. Find us on YouTube at youtube.com/@WCNetwork.